Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC-UGC live lecture. Dear friends, as you know that from time to time we talk on different subjects, different topics so that it becomes easier for you to get in-depth knowledge on those subjects and topics, and some of the lectures are beneficial for everyone because they have the point which helps you in enlightening yourself, which helps you to motivate other people. Dear friends, in this session today we are going to discuss on fatigue and habits. We would be discussing on the general terms that what fatigue and habits are, as well as later on we would be discussing on what is the importance of fatigue and habits in education, what crucial role they plays in education. So dear friends, for this discussion we have again with us in our studios Dr. Mrs. Parveen Sharma. Dr. Sharma is Associate Professor in Hindu College of Education, Sonipat, as well as I would like to tell you all that number of her papers have been published in important journals, the famous journals, as well as lots of students have done their PhD under her guidance. She has almost 29 years of experience, and I believe that her experience would help us in knowing what fatigue and habits are. So without wasting any time, I would like to welcome our guest, Dr. Parveen Sharma. Dr. Sharma, welcome to the EduSet lecture once again.
Thank you, Geetika ji. Good morning, viewers and listeners. In this session, we will be discussing what fatigue is and what is habit formation, how they are related, how it influences the life of an individual in general, and how it is important in education. You know, irrespective of attention and interest, it happens that invariably there comes a moment in the life of an individual when one gets tired and doesn't want to work, he is tired mentally and physically, then efficiency of the individual impedes and doesn't want to work. That is what we mean by fatigue. And after that fatigue, after that mental tiredness and physical tiredness, one is not ready to work, and that influences in the another manner our learning or efficiency of work. Is it due to our habit, or habits are influenced by fatigue? We will see in this session how they are related and how it is important to know for all the stakeholders, and how it is important to know on the part of the individual that one should inculcate in himself or herself the right habits so that one is not reached at a position, at circumstances that one is fatigued, one is tired, which influences our proficiency or efficiency in work. And it is important to know for the teachers also that they should inculcate the right habit in their students, and it is important for the parents to know, to realize that the right habit should be inculcated for in the children right from the beginning. So, my dear friends, we will be discussing in this session what do we actually mean by fatigue, and how the inculcation of good habits are important on the part of the students, for the children, for parents, and for teachers as well. Let us say in the beginning what is fatigue. See, in the first picture, the individual is working and is tired, reached at a stage when mind is tired, body is tired and doesn't want to work. As I have said, irrespective of the interest or attention or even devotion with an individual performs a particular task, there invariably comes a moment when he begins to experience tiredness. If a person's capacity to work is charted upon a graph, it will be seen that his capacity to work declines in the ratio in which he becomes exhausted. What is fatigue? Fatigue is a mental state in which the individual does not want to work. In that state, he is unable to concentrate or focus upon the task in hand and is not ready to work. Focus upon task in hand and his capacity to think becomes weak. When we are fatigued, our performance is influenced. Mental hygiene aims to teach the individual how to conserve his energy and strength. To know when and how to rest is important. To rest before one is completely fatigued means quicker recovery. It is important to know how to reserve our strength wisely, because if we keeps on working after tiredness, definitely our efficiency will be declined, and what we want to do we will not be able. So it is important to take rest, which is not realized by the students, by the individual, and sometimes by the teachers and parents also, because they force the children to read, to work, to study, even after when the children are saying that we are not tired, we are not ready to study and we want to play. But even after that, after getting this answer from the children, most of the time parents and teachers, they force the children to study. So my dear friends, this is wrong, because this is the nature's way. Night and day, after the hard work of day, we take rest in the night, and then we are fresh and we are ready to go for work. So it is important that after interval we should take rest, and rather I would say reward yourself for 10 minutes break after hard work of 50 minutes per hour. So it is important to take rest. See, fatigue is largely controlled by controlling working conditions. So these are conditions which should be controlled, because these are sometime conditions which influence. Normal habits of rest and sleep are necessary. Sometimes people tire themselves and keep on working out by working. To quarrel with oneself is another undesirable way of using one's energy. If you are tired and you are quarreling with yourself and keep on working, then what will happen? Your efficiency will be declined. It is important to know how to build a pattern of timing on the basis of intelligent insight into our own needs of mind and body. Of course, we have our desires, we have our aims, but it doesn't mean that when our body refuses to work, when our mind refuses to work, and we keep on quarreling with ourselves, what will happen? It will take us to the negative learning. After a time when we are not ready to learn and we keep on reading, what will happen? It will take us to negative learning. How? Suppose after tiredness, there is an individual who studied for an hour any subject, and after the next day when tries to recapitulate or just revise the lesson, nothing is there in the mind, because at that time yesterday when after tiredness he was studying, nothing was grasped by him, because at that time he was tired, and he will say to himself, oh, this chapter is very difficult, this content is very difficult, yesterday I studied for 1 hour and I could not understand even a single sentence. So it will take him to the negative learning. So it is very important to realize by the parents and by students and by the teacher, by every stakeholders, that when one's mind is tired, when one's body is tired, should not study, because it will not take him to the positive learning, rather it will take him to the negative learning, because he is fatigued. So after the fatigue, one should not study, one should take rest. How can we define fatigue? By the various psychologists, it has been defined according to Starch. Fatigue is a state in which at the moment there is a decline in interest and desire. Of course, we have our aims, we have a particular activity in which we have our interest, we have the desires, but after a time when we are tired, what will happen? Our interest will also decline, and Freeman has said it is a state in which the body's nerves and muscles do not respond swiftly, and hence the body becomes listless, because we are not ready to study, our body is tired. Of course, we have the desires, we have the interest, but if after some time when body is tired, we will not understand anything. And William Drill says that fatigue is a state in which the body loses its physical coordination. If there is no coordination between the body and between the mind, then the students will not grasp anything, because whatever he is physically sitting on the content, he is working, but nothing goes in his mind because there is no coordination between the mind and the body. Mind and body can work as a unit. It is not possible that your body says something and your mind says something. Body and mind both have to coordinate with each other. So if one may be tired physically, one may be tired mentally, but any kind of fatigue will decline the capacity of the individual. Later on in this session itself, we will discuss what are the types of fatigue and what are the conditions which influence that fatigue of the individual, or whether it is influenced by the habit or habit is both vice versa. So, we will discuss, and what is the role of the teacher we will discuss. Then see, in this picture, we have taken a picture in which the student is tired, sick, and most of the time stress and late nights. These days what is happening, it was said that early to bed and early to rise, but these days the students, they study till late night and they get up late. So, late night sleep also influences in a negative manner the capacity to learn, capacity to acquire, capacity to grab the content which one wants to do. So, it means what happens that the undue stress or working in the late night is not suggested. One should have a time management so that can have proper rest, can have food at proper time, can sleep at least 7 to 8 hours sleep is must, which students ignore and they do not take proper rest. So, it is not suggested one should take proper rest, one should take care of the time management. Then what are the types of fatigue? There are two types of fatigue. One is mental fatigue and the another is physical fatigue. We will discuss what is that. See in this picture, one is tired, not able to work. Then symptoms of fatigue. How we can come to know that? I have said that teachers and the parents and the students as well has to see that when one is fatigued, one should not work. But how we will come to know that one particular individual is tired? So, we will discuss, are there some symptoms? After seeing those symptoms in the children, we can come to know one is tired and we should not force to study and ask him to play or whatever, or rest or sleep. So, first symptoms I have taken is decrease in interest and attention. When one is tired, we will see that suppose there is a class going on and a student, after half an hour we notice that his interest is not in the content, not listening, or his body postures are just changing and he is restless. So, we can come to know that his interest is lost in that lecture. So, must be tired and he is not attentive. We ask, you are not attentive. So, in the previous lecture of attention, we discussed in detail that it is wrong to say that you are not attentive. The child is attentive, but his attention is not towards your lecture. His attention, उसका ध्यान है पर वो ध्यान कहीं और है, आपका जो lecture है उसको नहीं सुन रहा. So, it is wrong, it is not appropriate for the teacher to say you are not attentive. We can, if we say you are not attentive, you are not listening to my lecture, then it can be okay. So, when we see that one individual is losing his interest or attention, then it is clear that one is tired, one is fatigued. Then increase in errors. When we notice after some time that the errors or mistakes are being increasing, then we can come to realize, we can come to notice that earlier the student or maybe child in general was not making so many errors. Now the errors or mistakes are being increased. So, it is clear from this symptom that one is tired. Then irritability, the behavior may change and one becomes irritable, sometimes not respond properly, may sometime answer in a negative manner, and gestures may be wrong. So by this irritable behavior of any individual, we can come to know that one is tired. Then yawning and change of postures. When someone starts yawning, the yawning shows that the individual is tired. And when there comes the reference of yawning, there was one experiment done by an educationist, that to some blind persons an audio cassettes of yawning was played, and after that those blind individuals, they started yawning, because yawning has a great impact on the capacity of the mind or the body to work. So it means when one starts yawning, maybe in the class or maybe day to day, we may be performing any activity, when we see that the person who is working starts yawning, it means one is tired. Then it is suggested should take at least 10 minutes or 5 minutes break, and should just move, or some walking is suggested, can eat something to refresh yourself, and change of, when we see that change of postures are very frequent, then we can realize that one is tired. So these are some symptoms. By noticing those symptoms, we can come to know that one is tired. Then the causes of fatigue. How can we realize that one is tired? So there are some causes. First is carbolic acid and chemical causes. It is very important to know by everyone, not in the field of education only. We may be working at a radio station, maybe working in some company, maybe working in some industry. By all stakeholders, it should be realized that when there comes a moment when one is tired, and after that tiredness one keeps on working, that then at that moment some carbolic acid and chemical start producing in the body, and one kind of heat and energy is produced in the body, and that energy and heat starts producing poison in the body. So it is really harmful for the person when after tiredness one keeps on working. So not in education only, in every discipline, in every working conditions, it is important to know by everyone that if one is tired, should take some break, should take some rest, can eat something, because this is very important cause of fatigue. Unsuitable postures. When we see sometime furniture is not good, or the conditions surrounding us where we are working are not good. So in that condition we keep on working. So sometime our posture is not good. That posture creates fatigue in our body, in our mind. In the class also, most of the time as a teacher I say that our mind and our backbone, they are related in a manner. When we sit in a straight position, our memory will be more. If we are sitting in a wrong manner, then our memory will be less. That's why all the time in the classroom it is said, it is asked by the teacher at the primary level, sit straight, seedhe baitho, so that your memory is more. So unsuitable postures, they cause the fatigue. Then see in this picture, I have tried to take top 7 possible causes of fatigue in young women: poor diet, skipping meals, stress, lack of exercise, thyroid gland, hypothyroidism, and chronic fatigue syndrome, and excessive caffeine intake. Sometime this is a misconception that when we are tired, we think of having a cup of coffee and tea, but when this caffeine is taken excessively, it produces a sort of fatigue and tiredness in our body. So one should realize that these are the things which bring in fatigue in the young woman. Then factors producing fatigue are more. They can be internal factors and they can be external factors. First I am taking internal factors, how the fatigue is produced by our own working style, our own body. Internal factors: when we have a poor teeth, we will be having problem and we will be tired. tonsil. Some children are having the problem of tonsils, and all the time they are complaining that my throat is not well, so that produces a kind of fatigue. So it is important to know by the parents that they should consult the doctors so that that problem is over, because this factor produces the fatigue. Then defective eyes, sometime we just ignore when child has a problem in the vision, so that causes the fatigue. Then nutritional status, these days we are living in a competitive time. We keep on working, we keep on working for getting more and more, and in this way we just ignore our food, our balanced diet. And what happens by ignoring our balanced diet, they are produced fatigue in our body, because we are doing everything for having a good body and good food, but we are ignoring to have a good food. शास्त्रों में भी कहा गया पहला सुख निरोगी काया, and we are ignoring because we are not having proper diet. When we are not having a balanced diet, then one will be tired easily, and inadequate sleep. As earlier few minutes back I have taken that late night sleep is not suggested. Early to bed and early to rise is a better remedy to have a good health, so that fatigue is not there, but we ignore, and we do not take proper sleep. When one is not having proper sleep, then all the time during daytime, when at a workplace, you may be working in an industry or maybe school, college, institution, wherever, but you will be yawning, you will be tired, and everybody will ask what is happening, you are not looking fresh, and because you are internally tired. So these are some factors which produce fatigue in the body. Then I am taking the external factors. Which are those external factors? They are overstimulation. This is very important. Stimulation is good, but overstimulation is not required. When all the time you are asking a child to work, and you have to do this, you have to do this overstimulation will produce the fatigue, because when you overstimulate a child will be having a stress in the mind. If I do not come up to the standard of my parents, what will happen? And this will create a stress in the mind, and this kind of thinking, this kind of stress will create fatigue in the mind of the child. So my dear friends, as a parent, you have to see that do not overstimulate your child, because if all the time you are pampering, it is not good, because that will create a stress in the mind of the children. Then unhealthy clothing, our clothing style is also influencing our fatigue. So it is important to know by all the individuals that it should be hygienic, it should not be unhealthy, because when we are comfortable, then we will not be tired. And the inadequate ventilation, when we are working in a condition when there is no fresh air, poor illumination, there is no proper light, excessive illumination, if it is poor or it is more, in both the cases it is wrong. And then excessive noise, sometime when we are working and from outside there is a excessive noise, so it will create a disturbance in our working style, and we will feel tired. Poorly adjusted seats, our seat where we are sitting, where we are working, we may be in any discipline, may be working anywhere, our seats where we sit should be properly adjusted. Poorly adjusted school work, my dear friends who are teachers, I am also a teacher, we must realize that the school work should not be given for the sake of school work, just to keep them busy. It is wrong. It should be proper what we want to get done from them. So if our school work, our homework which is given to the children, maybe at junior level, maybe at senior level, it should be properly, it should be adequately adjusted what we want from them. And sometimes I have seen in the schools that teachers assign the homework and they do not correct it. When children realize that our homework is not being checked properly, then they feel that it is wrong, and it creates undue stress in their mind, and it also causes fatigue. So we have seen that there are various causes. Sometimes the causes are internal, from our body, from our mind, in our thinking style, or in our genes, and sometimes they are from external or from outside, maybe noise, maybe food, maybe lack of proper ventilation, maybe lack of stimulation, or maybe overstimulation. If there is lack of stimulation, it is also wrong. If there is more than required stimulation, it will also create. So it is very important to know by the parents, but there is no measurement, there is no taraju where you can weigh that how much, how many kgs, how many dozens. So one has to realize, one has to see the child, one has to see the capacity of the child and our circumstances, and where and the mental agents interest of the child, and our interest and goals and aims of that particular child. So lack of stimulation and overstimulation both causes fatigue. So we have to see that it should be genuine. Then fatigue and the classroom. After taking the role of fatigue in general, I will be taking what is the role of fatigue in the classroom. Following causes contribute to fatigue. Unhygienic environment. First is our environment is very important, where the child, where the student are working, they are studying. If the environment is not good, then we see that all the time students are remain fatigued and they are not ready to respond, and all the time teacher will say, why you are making noise, why you are not listening to the lecture, why don't you want to study, these days you students, you are not working, you are not serious. But we do not realize as a teacher the environment itself is unhygienic. So instead of rebuking or instead of discarding the students, we have to see as a teacher that where the students are studying, the environment should be hygienic. Then the inadequate provision of seating. Sometimes seating arrangement I have taken in general also, and I am talking about in the classroom also. Our seating arrangement should be proper, so that when the students are listening to your lecture, their posture may remain adequate, and it should not affect the memory in a wrong manner, in a negative manner. So seating arrangement should be proper. Then lack of fresh air and adequate light. When there is no lack of provision of fresh air and the light, then it may affect the students who are sitting at the back, or sometimes the students, they have poor vision, so it will create fatigue in them. And sometimes it happens then that the extrovert student, they sit in front, and some students who get the seat in the back, they are sometimes ignored. And sometimes when we talk about audio visual aid, sometimes teacher or our pupil teacher, they make the charts where the letters are written in a small font, and it is not clear to the students who are sitting at the end. So it must be realized by the teacher and by the pupil teacher also, teacher educator also, that it should be seen by everyone who are sitting at the end also. So sometime in this school there is a provision, I have seen, I have noticed in some schools, that the seats of the children are in rotation in roll number wise. So if there is such provision, no student will be called as backbenchers, because other day if they are sitting in the back, the next day they will sit in the front. Then psychological timetable and curriculum. Sometime when timetable is prepared, all the principles of constructing the timetable or is not taken care of. Always there should be a provision that the difficult subjects should be taught in the morning hours, in the beginning hours, and the less difficult subjects they should be set in the later half, so that they have not difficulty in understanding that the content of the difficult subject. Then the curriculum. Our curriculum construction sometime is faulty. We should as a curriculum constructors, we should keep in mind that the curriculum is meant for the students and students are not meant for the curriculum. So we have to see whatever we teach to our student, it should have some practical utility, because if students have in their mind that this particular content, that this particular subject or this particular issue is not having some practical utility, then all the interest will be lost. So it is very important that we have to take care of the proper construction or proper implementation of timetable and proper implementation of curriculum. Then wrong methods of teaching. We know very well that there are individual differences in the students. Some are bright and some are average. So we cannot teach everyone by the same method. So as a teacher educator, as a teacher, we have to realize for which particular student, for which particular content, I have to select this particular method. We have to bring down the variations in our content, variations in our teaching methods, because there is the individual differences, they exist. So we as a teacher have to take care of our methods. If child is having interest, child is not fatigued, is having attention, or learning style are good, but if teaching methods are not proper, then definitely there will come a fatigue. Students will be tired very soon. So it is important to take care that teacher must select the proper methods by seeing the mental level of the students, their age level and so many other factors, because we have to see that our methods are meant for the students and students are not meant for our methods. Then physical defects. Sometimes there are some students who have some physical defects. So as a teacher we have to be cooperative with those students, we have to take care of those students who are having some defects. Then emotional pressure. I will stress more on this point, emotional pressure. Sometime undue pressure is given on the students by the teachers that you have to do this, you have to do this. We take care of IQ, but we forget about EQ, that is emotional quotient. That is a very important, equally to IQ, intelligent quotient के साथ साथ EQ का ध्यान रखना है, because if our students are emotionally disturbed, then our good methods will also fail. They may be attentive or they may not be, because our method is good. We have taken care of proper ventilation, proper light, proper seats, but if the students being presence of all these factors which I have mentioned, they are there, of course we have taken care of all these things, but if we see that our students are sitting in a class emotionally disturbed, suppose in the beginning, before starting your lecture, you have unnecessarily rebuked a student that emotionally he will feel disturbed and will not be sitting happily and may not be attentive to your lecture. So we have to see that we are as a teacher are there in the classroom to make the personality of the students, not to mar the personality of the students. Sometime while teaching, I teach after if there are 40 students in your class, one day you say where are all the students? All have rushed away, because till 40 days you have rebuked one student unnecessarily and you have made all the students to run away from your class. So on the 41st day you are alone standing in the classroom. So you are there to make the personality of the students, not to mar the personality. So I am again repeating that all these factors have to be taken care of by the teacher, that the environment should be hygienic, method should be proper, seating arrangement should be proper, there should be proper ventilation, and the physical defects, if they are lying in the children, should be taken care of, and there should be no emotional undue emotional pressure on the mind of the students, that in that manner we can reduce the fatigue. Then I am just coming to the next part, whether fatigue is created, whether fatigue is produced due to our wrong habits or they are related some way, and is there any role of the teacher, of the parents? Can we inculcate the proper habits among the children, among the students, so that we can reduce the fatigue in the children. We will see, let us come on the methods of measurement. Before coming to the habit, I am just taking few aspects: consumption of oxygen, muscular tension, resistance in the skin, touch and dictation. These are some methods also by which we can measure whether they are tired or not. These days pollution is much, and so sometime we see that intake of the oxygen in the students is less. 1 liter oxygen produces 5 calories, and we are lacking the oxygen in the environment. So definitely it will create fatigue in the children. So muscular tension will be there, our skin will be influenced, and all the senses will be affected. And one thing is dictation in the classroom. You can see the difference after giving the dictation in the morning hours, and when you see the dictation given by you in the later half, you will see if the mistakes are increased by the students, which are committed by the students. You can come to know that students are now tired. Removal of fatigue. How can we remove the fatigue? First, there should be proper light, then proper ventilation. Our seating arrangement should be fine, and prevention of external hindrances. Sometime like noise, etc., they just cause the fatigue in the mind. Then psychological methods, as I have taken the emotional pressure. When there is emotional pressure, this undue methods, inadequate methods, they produce fatigue. Motivation, sometime lack of motivation or more of motivation, they produce the fatigue. So by giving the genuine motivation, by giving the genuine rest, we can remove the fatigue. When I take rest, rest is very important. Sometimes we keep on working and working as a student, as a teacher, as a parent, we force students, we force children to work. So it should be realized by everyone that proper rest is essential. Your method may be correct, your learning style may be correct, there may be proper ventilation, proper light, proper seating arrangement, but if you are tired, if you are fatigued and you are not giving rest to your body, your mind, then you are not able to work. So for removing the fatigue, rest is important. As I have said, reward yourself for 10 minutes break after 50 minutes hard work per hour. It should be habit. I will relate it to the habit formation. Then extracurricular activities and timetable. Timetable is important in general also. Sometime not in the classroom only, we do not have timetable when we are getting up, when we are working, when we are sleeping. Jab marzi jo kar liya, like we have no planning, then half the day will be gone because we have no planning. So not in the classroom only, not in the office only, at home when you are having leisure time, you should have a timetable that I have to do this time and this thing, this activity at a particular time. So time management is very important. Sometimes the children who have a proper time management, they have the time at their disposal for leisure also, leisure work also, leisure time also, and for study. And some other, on the other hand, some children who do not know how to manage the time, they do not get the time to play, and they do not get the adequate time for study because they do not have that capacity of time management. From the very beginning, teachers as well as parents must inculcate such habit of managing the time, and mind it, only saying is not enough. You as a parent and you as a teacher is having the habit of managing the time, and then it will become a model, it will become an example for your children. They will definitely follow you. Suppose I am getting up early in the morning, very frankly, very forcefully, I can ask my children to get up early, but if I do not get up early and I expect from my children get up early, they may reply, aapse to utha nahi jata. If I study, I can ask, So it means we have to be model for every good habit. Then extracurricular activities, we have to see that not study all the time. We are not a machine only, we have got a heart also. So we have to give provision of extracurricular activities, so that one is getting time to play, because play and fatigue, they are also related. When we do not play and when all the time we are working, we loses interest and attention in the particular activity. We may be having our goals, we may be having our dreams, but if we are not getting the time of playing, then we are tired and our efficiency is influenced negatively. Then interval and lunch, sometime we do not give break. I have seen in some institution that during recess time also they adjust some period. I really do not like this thing. Why you are having your class in the rest time? Because recess is for that purpose, that you should take lunch. If you are not eating something, at least your body and your mind need some rest. You are not like a camel that you eat in the morning and you start working and keep on working till late night. So give rest to your body, so that there is no fatigue or less fatigue. Then sleep is important. We as a student do not realize that adequate sleep is important. We must sleep 7 to 8 hours, because rest or sleep is as important as food is important for our body. Then bathing and balanced diet. Our balanced diet and proper bathing, proper hygienic habits, they also remove the fatigue in our body and make us or motivate us to work. So these are the some methods which remove fatigue from body. Then what is habit? As I have spoken to you, that fatigue and habit both are related to each other. How we are fatigued? Because we have a poor habit. We do not know that we should study at this time, we should take rest this time, we should have a balanced diet, and how we should sit, how we should walk, how we should dress up ourselves, and how we should work, what should be our proper working hours. So it means we have a poor habit, and before going to school there comes the role of the parents to inculcate such good habits among the children, because before a child starts going to school, such good habits of mannerism and etiquettes should be inculcating in the children by the parents, so that wrong habits are not developed in our body, in our mind, in our thought, in our mannerisms. You know, happiness and efficiency and progress in life depends on the cultivation of good habits. If we are having a good habit, we can spread happiness in the environment, and we can create happiness for ourselves, because we are having a good habit. If we are not having a good habit, we cannot remain ourselves happy, and we cannot spread happiness. If you are happy, if you are efficient, only then you can make others efficient, and only then you can make others happy. So we have to realize that our habit should be good, because it is important. Habits have important role in life. Teacher has to cultivate the proper habits. Our character, our social order, mannerism, learning and education, all is due to habit formation. How we see that one can progress, one can reach to the top level, and other is frustrated, because the person who is making progress is having a good habits, when to study, when to take rest, what to eat, what not to eat, what should be left in eating, and at what time we should take exercises, because we must do some physical work. As we know that in this era of, we are living in the time when there are machines. Most of the work which we used to do physically are done by machines. So sometime it is happening that we are not doing physical work, we are doing only mental work. Then it is not also good for our body, for our mind, because when we make exercise, our body is refreshed. Then motivation gets you started. See, habits keep you going. If you have a habit, you keep on working. I generally say it is easy to give the information to someone, but it is very difficult to change the habit of an individual, because habit of thought, habit of body, habit of mind, once they are acquired, it is very difficult to change the habit of an individual. You can give information, you can increase the knowledge of the individual, but it is very difficult to change the habit. So, when it is difficult to change the habit of the individual, so it is very important to know realize by the teacher and the parents that the right habit should be inculcated from the very beginning. Then how we can say or we can define what is habit. Habit se matlab kya hai? William James defined that it is a tendency of an organization to behave in the same way as it has behaved before. When we keep on repeating some activity in the same manner, it is habit. According to Woodworth, habit is a well learned performance. We have learned. See, what is the characteristics of habits? Uniformity. When we keep on working some activity on some activity, it just includes in our habit and we keep on working in a uniform manner. Ease and facility, this is another characteristics of habit. How? When we start some new activity, we find some difficulty, but after some time when we keep on working, we find that we are getting some easiness, some facility, and we are not having so much difficulty as we were facing when we started it. Suppose there is a person who does not know how to cook. In the beginning will find difficulty in cooking, but after some time when he has to or she has to work, she has to cook repeatedly, then will find that activity some interesting or will find it easy. Then propensity is a tendency to work. Suppose we are not interested in activity, but continuously we are working on it, then it is being included in our habit and we keep on working for that. Then independence of attention. Of course, attention is related, but attention or habit, they are related, but they are independent, they are not depending on each other. How? When one is not doing something, it is not our habit, and when one activity is being included in our habit, then we may not be attentive, but it becomes our habit. We are not attentive to that activity, but it has become our habit. So, they are independent and we keep on working on that activity. Resistance to modification. When one becomes our habit or any kind of activity becomes our habit, then it is very difficult to modify, because our body, our mind, our thought, they become resistant to that change. So, it means when we know it is very difficult to modify, so bad habits should not be grabbed by the child, and it has to be seen by the parents and by the teachers that right habit or the proper habit should be inculcated, because once it becomes the habit of the child, it will be very difficult to modify. Then kinds of habits. See, how many types? One is the good habit and another is the good habit and bad habit. Both are opposite. Importance of habits in life. When we say that habits once acquired is very difficult to change, to modify, so definitely they have their importance in our life. They conserve energy, because when we are having a habit of doing something, we can save energy. Simplification of movements. We move on, because when we see that this is the habit of that individual, then one is moving, or moving means one is doing, one is performing very easily. Reduction of fatigue. When we are finding some ease and facility in doing some activity, then there arises no question of fatigue, because we are interesting and we are attentive in that activity. Then accuracy and promptness. Once it becomes our habit to do that way or this way, then there are more chances of performing the work with accuracy and promptness. Then social order and moral discipline. If it has become our habit to be in a discipline or to follow the norms of the society, then we will find it easy and we will not find difficulty. So it is important to know that once it becomes our habit, we will be used to do this thing and we will be morally disciplined. Socialization and character. Character is somewhat what we do habitually, maybe in thought, maybe in body gestures. So and good habit should be acquired, should be included in our character, and we should try to make one socialize in what kind of social structure we are moving. So it should be our habit to move with the social structure. Then adjustment in the environment. Wherever we are moving, we should be having the capability to adjust in that environment. If we do not try to adjust ourselves in the environment, we will remain frustrated, and definitely that frustration will produce fatigue in our mind. We will not be attentive and we will lose the interest in that activity, we will lose interest in life. You must have noticed that there are different kind of people who are full of energy, full of life at the age of 80 also, and there may be another segment, another group of people at their young age, maybe in 30s and maybe 40s, they say ab kya karna hai, like that. They are all the time depressed. How it is that individual at the age of 80 is full of life, full of dreams, I have to do this, full of energy, and another side at the 30s and 40s is disturbed, because the person who is disturbed, who is frustrated, has acquired bad habits, not in the habit of doing or performing his or her activity in time, not having the time management skill, and not happy from inner side, and all the time remain fatigued. And when one is fatigued and has acquired bad habits, will not be able to perform his or her work well in time, and then efficiency of the mind, efficiency of the body will be declining. So all these we come to know that all these things, all these facts, they are important to know, because we by the time we have come to know that there is a great importance of good habits in life. And if I talk about in classroom situation in education, this I have talked in general, I will be taking this factor in classroom. What is the importance of good habits in education? Why we are there in the institution, why we are there in the classroom? We are supposed to make the personality of the children. So development of personality is possible when we try to inculcate good habits in the children. And how we can inculcate? When we are having a good habits. If as a teacher we are not in the habit of visiting the library, we are not very forcefully in a position to ask the students that you must visit library daily, you must have a good handwriting. If we do not have a good handwriting, we cannot ask. So if we want that we have to inculcate some good habits in our student, we have to act as a model. The child who has not acquired the habit of cleanliness, punctuality, obedience, truthfulness, respect for elders and study habits will seldom develop these in later life. Because from the very beginning, if a child is not having the habit of keeping himself or herself in a clean manner, then it will not become his habit to remain clean or keep the environment clean. As these days we have more and more stress to keep your environment clean. So if we want that we have to keep our environment clean, such kind of habit should be inculcated in the children from the very beginning. Then punctuality, it is the habit of an individual. If one is not having the habit of to do his or her work in a given time or punctuality, then it will be very difficult when you join your job all the time. you will remain frustrated because you are not habit of doing your work in time. So punctuality is very important. Then truthfulness, if one is having a habit of speaking the truth from the very beginning, it will be his habit from throughout his life. Then respect for elders, it should be the habit of the children to respect the elders, so that this habit will be with him or her in the later life also. If such kind of habits like punctuality, honesty, sincerity, simplicity are not there in the children in the beginning, it will be very difficult to develop these habits for later life, because these are our habit. As I have said earlier also, that it is very easy to give some information or knowledge to the individual, but it is very difficult to change the habit of the individual, because they are formed in the early life of the individual. Sometime it have been seen that before going to the school, some habits are inculcated already in the children. So it has to be realized. Then same old way and something new. What we have to do? We have to replace the old bad habits from the new habits. If we see that this habit is old, which is old one is not good, we have to make practice of changing that habit by the new one, which is difficult, but we have to do work for that. Then how to form good habits? Now there comes the point, what we as an individual, what as a parents, and what we as a teacher can do to inculcate the good habits among the children. Definitely first thing is, if we want to teach our children, our student good habits, we have to work as a model. If as a parent we are having the habit of truthfulness and sincerity and honesty, very easily without saying, our children in the home will notice our these good habits and they will develop in their lifestyle. And in the same manner, suppose you as a teacher has to reach in the class, your students will notice, oh, there is a bell for the madam at 10 o'clock, madam will be before 10 o'clock. If you are not habit of reaching in time, they will say, oh, madam to bhi aayegi, baad mein aayegi, like that. So you have to act as a model, and there are some laws of habit formation. First is the law of firmness and determination. You have to determine yourself, you have to be form yourself to make the habit. Then law of persistence, keep on working. Law of persistence is very important. Then law of activeness, one has to be active. If you yourself are not active to acquire some habit, then it will be very difficult. Then law of practice, practice makes a man perfect. So for inculcating good habits, we have to make provision that it should be a practice of the children. Suppose you want to improve the pronunciation of your students in the class, so give them some exercise, some oral lectures, and they must practice that, and on the spot you can correct your children that this is the right pronunciation. Then break the bad habits and make better ones. It is very important that old bad habit should be broken, and you as an individual have to work hard as a teacher and as a parents. What is the role of the teacher? Role of the teacher is very important through lectures, through stories, arousing emotions, formation of sentiments, co-curricular activities and school atmosphere, teacher as a model, sympathetic and affectionate attitude, use of reward and punishment. All these are the issues, these are the facts which should be taken care of by the teacher. That if we give stories and lectures properly, then we can see that proper habit can be inculcated in the students, and it will reduce their fatigue. So we see by the time that fatigue and habit are how they are related, because if we are having a good habits, then there will be no fatigue in the children and they can perform well.
Definitely one could perform well if there is no fatigue. One should continuously work to inculcate good habits. This should be implied not to only to the students or with the children, but everybody should work out in such a manner what Dr. Parveen Sharma has described here. Dear friends, we would like to thank Dr. Parveen Sharma once again for giving us a very precious and productive lecture. And dear friends, we would be meeting again tomorrow with Dr. Parveen Sharma and would be discussing on some of the another important topic. Till then, take care. Goodbye. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, listeners.